Few internet personalities are subjected to as much hate as Steiny from the Nelk Boys. In the comment sections of the Full Send podcast, you'll find hundreds, even thousands of comments ripping into him and his whole personality. It's honestly very easy not to like Steiny. I don't understand how they keep him around. Steiny is such an inspiration. He shows you don't need to be smart, funny, or talented to be famous. Honestly, Steiny is the only Nelk guy I don't really fuck with. Only guy who the money and fame changed. You can see viewers really don't hold back with the insults, and sadly for Steiny, he's not treated much better by the people around him. The Nelk Boys are known to poke fun at each other, but with Steiny, it reaches a whole different level. He's the butt of so many jokes and the designated punching bag of the group, with him regularly being disrespected by the boys and even their guests.
Catching dubs is way better than catching L's.
I don't know, man, because like L's kind of fit you.
Bro,
You look underage and overage at the same time.
Yeah, I get that.
Two more. One for the big guy because he gets mad. He gets really mad. He's huge.
Yes,
Don't
bad
piss
guy.
him off.
Yeah.
And then the little
Yeah.
guy, he doesn't matter. But hit Kyle up.
Do you pay the girls you're with? I'm just like, I can't believe that they're with you, like sincerely.
But wait, so you don't use electricity or none of that? But how can you drink wine?
Because it's not electricity.
Yeah, I know, but like, no, but I'm saying, why is that funny?
People just don't take him seriously, and in large part that's Steiny's own fault. But despite all the hate he gets, the Nelk Boys have kept him around, to the point that now he's become the main host of the Full Send podcast after Kyle. So why is it that people seem to have such a big problem with Steiny, and how has he managed to get so far while being disliked by so many? Bonjour, this video is sponsored by Babbel. There's never a bad time to start learning a new language, but there's no better time than summer. You'll probably be traveling at some point, and chances are the native language wherever you're going isn't English. Luckily, whether the locals speak Spanish, French, or pretty much any other language, Babbel's got you covered. With simple but highly effective lessons, Babbel can take you from not knowing how to say anything in your target language to being able to ask for directions, make an order at a restaurant, and more. You might think you have to invest a lot of time, but that's far from the case. For me, doing just 15 minutes worth of lessons a day has made a massive difference. You'd be surprised how much better your experience abroad can be just by knowing even a basic amount of the local language. In my experience, locals really appreciate the effort you make, and regardless of whether you say things correctly or not, they're automatically much warmer towards you. With Babbel's bite-sized, interactive lessons, you'll learn loads in a short space of time, and most importantly, you'll have fun doing it. With a no-risk, 20-day money-back guarantee, you can follow the link in the description of this video to get 60% off your subscription to Babbel today. Now back to the video. Usually when we see a community hating on someone, it's because they've done something particularly horrible. But with Steiny, people just hate on him because of his personality. He's built a reputation for being overly materialistic and having an inflated ego, and this doesn't do him any favors. Steiny's known to flex on social media, showing off expensive jewelry, luxury cars, and attractive women, and his wealth and lifestyle are things he always seems to bring up. This type of behavior isn't uncommon in the world of influencers, but the way Steiny goes about it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He often portrays himself as having more game, money, and status than he actually does, and what makes it worse is that he does this in front of people like Kyle, Steve, and Brad, who all have more of those things than he does.
I pulled a couple hotties and then
Oh, okay, I got you.
I went to a Komodo with Steve, Selena, and some random, and then I brought my girl.
Your girl.
Like my main.
You have a main?
So what's her name?
This guy. And then
No, what's her name though? Because this is news. to
No,
me.
but then we went back to the crib like it was a
No, what's
flex,
her-
like,
what's a girl's name?
Yo, you picked me up in the rolls, bro. That was crazy.
Wait, what's the girl's
no,
name?
Steve hooked me up because he picked me up in the rolls, and then I looked like a G. Right?
Is this true? Is he with the girl?
No, it's just fact.
Yeah, I picked him and his girl.
In the rolls, and like she doesn't shut the door immediately, and I'm like, shut the fucking door. Like, I was like,
He constantly plays up the persona of being that guy, and as a result, a lot of the others seem to have no problem with exposing him for what he's truly like. In just the past year, Brad's called him out for flexing jewelry that's not his.
You're the guy who takes fucking chains and jewelry from Steve and you pretend like it's yours and you hit on chicks.
Why are you
want
getting
me
so triggered?
You want me to go hard on you?
Steve's outed him for getting regular Botox.
Wait, Steiny told you about the Botox, right?
Yeah, he told me.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, so Steiny does Botox. And I just find that, like, he's 26. I just feel like you don't need to do Botox if you're 26 and a dude. I don't know.
And Kyle's made it known just how image obsessed he can really be.
Are y'all taking Steiny with you? Is he gonna go?
He's not going because we wouldn't give him first
Like
class.
class issues, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like $15,000.
I get it. He
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
But I get it.
He's a big flexer, that guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
All of this gives off the impression that Steiny is overcompensating for something, and as we'll see later, he isn't nearly as confident or self-assured as he tries to let on. Nelk fans have known Steiny since he was an assistant for Steve Will Do It. Back then, he helped Steve with anything and everything, from producing videos for his YouTube channel to managing his girlfriend's OnlyFans account. He was his right-hand man, and because of that, Steiny got treated to a completely different lifestyle than what he was used to. Steve took him to crazy parties, let him drive his cars, let him wear his watches, you name it. And over time, all of this started going to Steiny's head. Things went south for Steve and Steiny's relationship after Steiny started appearing on the Full Send podcast. Initially, he was just asked to join for an episode or two, but he did his best to leave a good impression, researching the guests and asking questions that showed he'd done his homework. Overall, the reception he got was really positive, with viewers feeling like he added a lot to the dynamic. The boys liked him as well, and eventually Steiny was faced with the decision to go all in on the pod or keep working for Steve. It wasn't an easy choice to make for him, but in the end, he decided to become a permanent host of the podcast. This caused a rift in Steve and Steiny's relationship, with Steve feeling like Steiny betrayed him after he gave him everything.
I did everything for you.
I did everything for you too.
You did your fucking job.
No, but I didn't ask for anything, bro.
Oh yeah, that's his always excuse.
No, but it's always like I'm a bad guy.
I didn't ask for you to give
but it
me
was
a
like,
bunch
yo,
of money and give you all this shit and give you opportunity.
I'm
like-
grateful, and I never asked.
But that's
for
not how you
anything.
treat people, bro. Bro, I leveled you up so hard.
It's different, bro. I had an opportunity to continue to be an assistant, get treated like
Then, bro,
shit.
what do you mean assistant?
Or take a huge podcast. It was
Get on
hard,
the-
bro.
what
I
do-
tried to do both. I wanted to do both.
So I hate your guts.
Steiny's decision clearly upset Steve, but ultimately it furthered his career. He was now front and center on one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and with that, his following started to skyrocket. Around this time, he also became a more prominent feature in Nelk vlogs, so altogether, I assume he was making more money than ever before. And with more clout and money at his disposal, Steiny's ego seemed to only get bigger. But with him now being in a far more visible role, it didn't take long before many people started to grow sick of him. Maybe he got too comfortable or maybe too cocky, but Steiny's performance on the podcast began to falter. He began making bad jokes, asking silly questions, and constantly interrupting people. On one episode released in July 2022, Steiny was especially annoying, and Sugar Sean O'Malley called him out for how much he'd changed since his days as Steve's assistant.
Because when I came out to Miami, you were fucking Steiny assistant. Hey, Steve needs this. You do that. You're on top of
How
everything.
good was I?
You were good. I thought I was like, damn, Steiny's doing a good
dogfucked
job.
a little bit for
But
sure,
then you started wearing a couple chains.
Bro, once you put on
You
the
started
chains-
getting some sixes. You started changing a little bit.
sevens. There were a couple of baddies.
Money and fame changes your demeanor. Steiny is a perfect example. Kid was being mad disrespectful this pod and got called out by Sugar. At this point, the Steiny hate train was well underway, and you didn't have to look far to find comments ragging on him. People were posting threads on Reddit about him just to get their frustration out. It was clear Steiny grated on the people around him too, because he'd constantly be talked down to or insulted. And there's no better example of this than a podcast they recorded in November 2022. The guest for the episode was comedian Andrew Schultz, so you'd expect the episode to be fun and lighthearted, but it turned out to be the total opposite. For a lot of big podcasts, there are some episodes they film they decide not to release. Sometimes it's because there was some issue with the audio or video. Other times it's because the conversation was too stale. But rarely is it because of tension or beef between the hosts and the guest. However, this was the reason the Nelk boys didn't release the episode they filmed with Schultz. Until recently, all we knew was that Schultz had beef with Steiny on the podcast because a clip of Nelk's manager talking about their only unreleased podcast caught traction.
You guys ever shoot podcasts and not post them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sore subject, but yeah, so that's the only reason I want to say it. But there was an episode with Andrew Schultz. You know when like a stand-up comedian like looks in the crowd and decides like just go after somebody?
Yeah.
Well, I think like Schultz was kind of like went after Steiny, and he and it was pretty awkward.
This wasn't how any of the Nelk boys thought the podcast would go, but they were still going to release it despite Steiny not wanting them to. However, it was Andrew who in the end asked them to not publish it.
Because a lot of people are giving them shit. They're like, release the fucking episode, you pussies, etc. And they basically were like, Schultz said he didn't want to put out the episode.
Yeah.
Which is true, because it sucked.
Yeah.
It was like, I think I told you guys.
I vividly remember.
Yeah, it was just like one of the worst podcasts I've ever been on.
But with fans now pushing for the podcast to be released, Schultz changed his mind and sent a message to the Nelk boys.
Release the pod now! It's time for war now! Let's go!
In the same video, Andrew elaborated on the situation and fired shots directly at Steiny.
I don't think anybody has gone further in entertainment with less talent than this kid.
After this, the Nelk Boys agreed to release the podcast, and on July 21st, 2023, they posted it on their Twitter page. For the first half of the episode, the conversation was friendly, at least on the surface. You could tell Schultz wasn't very impressed with their interviewing skills, but he was going along with it anyway. That was until about 45 minutes in when he called out Steiny for looking at his phone.
I think that's the hardest thing about having money is that less things bother you. You know?
What bothers you the most right now?
Nothing.
Nothing bothers you?
You looking at your phone while we're doing this interview and everybody seeming disinterested.
From there, things got really awkward really fast.
What do you mean?
Me taking time out of my day to do this and then feeling
Dude,
like
I've
I'm
never
forcing you guys to do the podcast.
I've never been more
That
excited to
annoyed
do a
me.
podcast.
Say again?
I've never been more excited. I'm sorry. I had to
Don't
look at my notes.
apologize. You don't have to apologize. You asked me what annoyed me and I gave you an honest answer.
Wait, are you being serious about that?
Yeah, that annoyed me.
Really?
Yes.
So if
Is
someone
that surprising to you?
Well, if I'm looking at my notes, I have some things personally that I wrote that I wanted to ask you. Not on there.
Okay.
So I can't look at that and then ask you that?
I mean, you can, I guess.
What if someone in the audience is on their phone when you're doing that?
Then they're gonna get the same treatment you got.
Would you call them out?
Yes.
Have you done that before?
Yes.
And how's that reaction?
Good.
They get as offensive as I do?
I don't think you're offensive. I think you're offended.
Offended, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schultz later began asking questions about the dynamic on the pod. He seemed to be struggling to understand how they make it work with guests because he found the whole situation very awkward.
Are you guys friends with each other?
Yeah.
Like,
Why, you don't
genuinely?
get that vibe?
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
Because the chemistry is weird.
Well,
There's almost none of it.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. It's just, I don't get it.
What's confusing
It's
though?
just an
so I can help
awkward
break it down for you.
podcast. It's like a weird thing.
When Bradley Martin got brought up, Schultz seemed to assume that Brad is the one who normally drives the pod, which set off the back and forth between him and Steiny once again.
Yeah, I love Brad too.
Yeah?
He's great. And what, Brad usually drives it or something like that?
What do you mean?
Like, is he usually driving the interview?
Why? You don't think we're doing a good job of that?
No, not really. I mean, it's not my favorite.
Shortly after this, Steiny went to the toilet and things cooled down a bit, with the conversation settling on the Nelk Boys' drink brand Happy Dad. But when Steiny returned a little later, he interrupted the conversation and began demanding answers from Andrew.
Gambling
I
sites.
feel bad. I feel like you came at me a little bit there.
Why do you feel bad?
I just feel like you targeted me. Did you or no? Did someone tell you to do that?
No.
Why'd
I thought
come
you were
at me
just
so
being a
hard?
little annoying.
How?
I think you're annoying.
Really?
A little bit. Yeah.
And what makes you think that?
I don't know.
It's gonna be like a therapy session.
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck?
Are you like, I don't know if you're playing a character or you're having like an insecure moment. If you're having a vulnerable, insecure moment, then I want to like
No,
talk
I mean,
about
I'm
it.
kind of playing something, but what?
Oh, if you're playing
what did I
something-
say that triggered you to say that?
I think he's so insecure, and I think he plays his character. 'Cause he's so insecure and
Wait, but
shy.
what did I
and-
say that triggered you?
Do you find it hard to be yourself?
I think
No,
that's it.
that's what I do, bro.
Do you think?
But I get shit on a lot for doing that.
No, you get shit on because of the character you play because you can't be yourself.
This is something Steve has gone into more detail about since, explaining that this persona Steiny plays up is all rooted in insecurity.
I mean, honestly, Steiny, I love him as a person. I think he's funny, but I think he's just a bullshitter / liar, and he's very insecure. He's very insecure and afraid. Like he doesn't keep it real with no one because he's afraid of what people will think or whatnot or whatever the fuck he's afraid about. I think it's because he's just super insecure.
A couple of months after the episode with Schultz, Steiny opened up on a boys only episode of the Full Send podcast, admitting that he is insecure and wants to become more comfortable with who he is.
I look up to Aiden in the way he's so comfortable with his own skin and the way he acts.
Yeah.
Because I act like a shithead too, and I let stupid shit get to me. I'm just like, that
I
doesn't
tell you
matter
that.
anymore. Like even the Botox thing, like I really shouldn't let that affect
Even
me.
some other shit you text me about that I filmed with you and you said, take this out.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not going
you're
to talk
right.
about it, but even that stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just got to be more comfortable with who I am and fucking, yeah. Probably the most real shit I've said on since I've been
it's
in
fair,
Hell,
though.
bro.
It's fair, though.
No, it's true. That's a good thing though.
The sad thing about this is that when Steiny is just himself, that's often when he's most funny and likable. But it's when he falls into his insecurity that he plays up this persona that just isn't him, and people see straight through it. Given how polarizing he can be and the sheer amount of hate he gets from some viewers, a lot of people wonder why the Nelk Boys keep him around. But to me, the answer is simple. For one, Kyle likes him, and as much as Steve and a lot of the others shit on him, they like him too. But perhaps more importantly, they keep him around because Steiny is entertaining. Mike from Impulsive summed it up well when discussing Steiny's arguments with Schultz and how Andrew called Steiny talentless.
Talent is not indicative or representative of success in this environment anymore. It's not. It is how many, and that's not me agreeing and saying that Steiny is talentless. I don't give a fuck if he has talent or not. This is an unbiased point right here. If you can drive viewership and clicks and controversy, you are doing what needs to be done in this current internet climate.
That's right.
And Steiny, for whatever reason, maybe it's because he says stupid fucking shit, doesn't prep for the guest, pisses people off, whatever. People are watching.
Yeah,
they're
that's
commenting.
what he does.
Do you know if you go under the comments on an Elk video, there's a war in every fucking Elk video. It's not. We love Kyle. Kyle's such a good guy. He's the brains of the operation. We support him. It's fuck Steiny, kill Steiny, get Steiny off the show, and we love Steiny. Steiny's the best.
It's true, Steiny's that one friend who can drive you up the wall, but it wouldn't be the same without. So regardless of whether you love him or hate him, I doubt he'll be going anywhere anytime soon.